Hi, and welcome to 3D Gen Toolkit and the intro to Maya. Basically, to start off, we're going to start with the user interface of Autodesk Maya, and I'm using version 2020 to start this. And so, basically, we'll just get started, and we'll start with the top left of the interface. When you first open up Maya, this is the Maya Classic workspace. This is usually what opens up for most people right off the get-go. There's just everything that you see here. I'll just basically kind of go over everything, just kind of an overview, base overview. And so this top menu set is where basically everything you'll find in the Maya tool set. You'll notice that from Windows to the cache is going to be based around different modules. So with modeling, you'll see that mesh to generate is all located in the modeling tool set. Okay, so if I change, you'll notice on this left-hand side, if I go and change this to rigging, you'll see that from Windows to cache, now we have skeleton, skin, deform, constrain, control, and these are all just very specific to rigging and animation as well. So anywhere from Windows to cache, you'll notice that this is now the animation tool set by playback, key, playback, audio, visualize, deform, constrain, and the mesh network. The mesh network is used a lot for motion graphics. You can do a lot of really interesting and cool things with the mesh network. It's kind of very motion graphics heavy. And you'll see the effects menu this is where our particle systems, fluids, cloth, hair, and fibers, that kind of stuff, that's going to all live in effects. And then rendering, we have our lighting and shading as well as texturing and our rendering options. And from there, you can also customize a menu set. And this is the menu set editor to be able to do that. So say you want an Arnold menu set or anything like that. That's where you can add those things to give you more menu options. So with that in mind, we'll switch back over to modeling, and you'll also notice that one key element of Maya is the hotbox. And so what the hotbox is if you hit the space bar, you get this hotbox, and most of these the hotbox controls, actually let's get this back to Actually, I'm just going to bring all these up. I had hidden quite a few of these, so I just want to bring all these back. But you'll notice that, actually show all. Okay, so in the hotbox, you'll notice that the hotbox has basically all the same elements, like the modeling set is located here. So you have mesh, edit mesh, and you can get to all the tools that you can from this menu up here. And so with holding down the space bar, you get to this modeling set. And so this will be modeling, and this will be rigging, and this is the rigging set, and then this is the animation set. Then you have the effects, and this is going to be rendering. And you can tell by just once you change these, so say you rigging, you'll see skeleton. Skeleton's basically the start, skeleton to control. So if you hit down here, you'll see skeleton to control. These are all the menu sets that are allowed for rigging. And this is just a fast way to get to those menus instead of always scrolling up to the top to get to those. It's actually really nice. If you're only working in one, say you're just working on rigs or you're working just in modeling, And you don't need the others. You can go to this Hotbox controls and you can actually just say, show just the modeling only. So now when you go to the Hotbox, all you get is just straight modeling menu set, which is actually really handy. But you'll always still have all the same stuff that's available for in the top menu set. You'll see the file, edit, create, select, modify, display, windows, and then cache, Arnold, whatever you have in your menu set. So Comet is actually a tool set that I use for rigging specifically, and also renaming. And then this view, shading, lighting, show, render, panels, that's this menu set that's over all windows. So when you're in a window set, so I would call this a window set, this is the menu system that is located here. So it's here as well as here. The Hotbox is just, it actually shows up right where your mouse is. So that's pretty nice to have that like right at the command. There's also recent commands on the left-hand side, which actually shows you what your last commands were. Really nice. When you select the Maya, if you just select with the spacebar and then you hit on your left mouse button, you get all the different views. So perspective, and then you can also create a new camera, and then this also gives you your orthographic views like right, top, bottom, front, and then this is just a fast way to get to other views. So if you like the top view or front view, however you want, but perspective, this is just a fast way to actually get around in Maya inside the viewport window. So if you hold down the Alt key and left mouse drag, you can rotate. Okay, and then if you keep holding the Alt key and if you middle mouse drag, you can pan left and right. And then middle mouse drag up and down will let you zoom. So as you zoom, scroll up, you'll zoom in, and as you scroll down, you scroll out. So that's the way that you get around in Maya. You can also zoom in and out by holding the right mouse button. If you hold down the right mouse button with Alt, you can zoom in and out as well. Zoom in and out on the middle mouse button, and then Alt and middle mouse button will let you pan, and then Alt and left mouse button let you rotate around. And that's the Maya viewport setting that will actually let you get around. So going over the menus and what's available, you'll see that basically the file is like everything else, most programs where you can create a new scene, open a scene, save a scene, and then also increment and save is actually really nice to have. And then you can optimize your scene size. That's a nice thing. Actually just kind of crunches the file down quite a bit. And then there's a game exporter. You can also send to Unity and Unreal. This also has an After Effects live link, which if you use 3D for motion graphics, this is a great tool to have. You can export to an offline file or assign an offline file. Atom is animation template files, and then also you can create your references. You can create referencing system inside Maya, which is actually really handy, really useful. I use this in character pipelines, and so this is really helpful. We'll go over all these items in a little bit better detail, but just kind of doing an overview and overall showing you where things are located in Maya. Inside the view section, there's a view image and a view sequence. and you can actually set those up inside your preferences to what image sequencer you use, like Photoshop or any other Krita, anything like that. So you can set that in the preferences, and I'll show you where that is located. The project window, and this actually shows you where when you build a project file, usually you can start with like a current project, and it'll place all your wherever your scene files are, templates, images. Like, you can actually point everything to where you want them. So when you say file open, it goes directly to your project. Whatever project you have, on this left hand side you can say current project, and I have mine set to my D drive and 3D Gen Toolkit. So this is where everything, basically when I open up Maya, it goes directly to this, and that is set in the file project window. And so you can actually set the project right here in set project. So you go to the folder that you want, and then you just say set, and then Maya will actually set that as your project window. You can have recent files and recent projects. And then also, if you have increments saved, you can also go to recent increments, which are really nice. And then you can also exit the program. The edit menu is where we undo, redo, cut, copy, paste. This has cut, copy, paste keys, delete keys, and also bake simulation. Bake simulation is a really big one. If you animate it all, this will actually bake your keys down to however you set them in the option box. You'll notice inside Maya, Maya has a lot of options, and so that's what this box is a option box. So if I say I want to use bake simulation and I go to the option box, you'll see that once I hit that, it'll open up the options for that, and then I can just scroll through and find what I'm actually looking for. So if I want to bake to all animation, or I can go to a layer, I can sample by 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames, however I deem necessary. This is just a really helpful tool. You could actually bake from the channel box. You can have something selected and just bake right directly. So say you just want rotates, you can just bake down to rotates. But that's just where bake simulation is located. And then you have the delete section of edit. This you can delete by type. Usually you want to delete your history if you get a really heavy file sometimes, you want to actually go and delete your history. If you have deformers, usually you want to say non-deformer history, because if you do a delete by type history, it will squash all deformers. So like if you have any skinning or anything like that on a character, and you try to delete any history on that, it'll get rid of any history that's on that object. You can also delete all by type, and this gives you all those options. Say you have just all constraints that you want to get rid of, you can just say delete all by type constraints. It'll go through the file, look for anything that has constraint information, and it'll delete it. And so pretty much for any of that, anything that cameras, anything you can find in that, delete all by type. This is our duplicate, and then there's a duplicate special. If you look at the option box, this is what you can instance, and then you can also group under a parent, a world, or a new group. This just gives you some other options as you duplicate. You can also transfer attribute values. This is actually really handy when you want to transfer from just different objects or different items. So this is duplicate with transform. This actually puts a transform on your duplicate. And then also you can group and ungroup. Also this has LODs, so you can create LOD groups. And LOD is level of detail. So sometimes you'll hear LODs. That's what that is. Parent and unparent, this is just a parent-child relationship. usually with rigging, and then also like if you have something that you want to follow along, you'll usually just parent that. And then our create menu. Our create menu is basically broken down by NURBS primitives, polygon primitives, and volume primitives. And volume primitives are mainly more for VFX. And then we have lights, cameras, and our curve tools, which you have CV and EP, and also Bezier curve tools. There's a pencil curve tool in Maya actually that does really well as well. The type system, where we can use type to 3D model any type, as well as SVG files. SVG files are vector files. You can also import, bring in Adobe Illustrator objects, which are really good. And these construction aids are actually really powerful as well. There's construction planes, free image planes, locators. Actually, you can place them anywhere in the world, which basically give you a where you are in the world space or local space. Actually, the locator is more world space, but then you can also annotate your files. And then we have measuring tools to measure out distance when you're, if you need to ever figure out distances. Scene management tools, actually really good. And our select tools. So we have a select all by type, which basically breaks everything down. If you want just polygon geometry, you can just say, okay, I want all polygons, and just select that. It'll give you all polygons. You can deselect all. You can select by the hierarchy. So if you have a parent-child relationship, you can select the parent and say hierarchy, and it'll select everything underneath. You can inverse select, and you can also select by similar, and then you can also, there's a tolerance to the similarity selection, which is really nice. You can also grow your selection, basically grow by polygons or verts faces, verts, polygon faces, or edges. It'll actually grow your selection. You can also grow along a loop and also shrink along a loop. Quick select sets are actually built by the create menu, so you can create a quick select set. Say you have like a bunch of faces that you know you're going to be using again, you can just create a quick select set, and then in the select menu you can go to the quick select sets and just hit it. That'll actually give you all those faces as a selection again. So in Maya, one important key is F8. F8 is the hotkey, but this is an object component mode. So being able to go back and forth between object and component mode, that's also here in these buttons right here. So this is object mode and this is component mode. So one thing to be aware of, so under the components we have vertex, edges, faces, vertex face, UVs, UV shells. And these are the hotkeys assigned to those elements. It's good to have those hotkeys. You can adjust them to where you want them, and I'll show you how to get to that, to create hotkeys that you can use. It's better to basically learn the Maya system, but if it's something that you use a lot of, it's better to, not better, but it helps if your hand is in a certain place, you want to use the hotkeys that are helpful. So you can also select contiguous edges, also the shortest edge path tool. You can convert your selection, so if you have a group of faces and then you want to convert to vertices, you can just say Control F9. It'll take those faces and convert those to verts. This is also really helpful with UVs as well. You can just select a bunch of edges, and then say you want to get to the UVs, you just say Control F12, it'll go to the UVs. Really nice conversion tools. You can also select to use constraints, and these are the components for NURBS, control vertex, curve points, edit points, and holes. All CVs, first CV and last CV, these are nice to have if you're ever working with curves and you want to make sure that you have the first CV. This is usually based off of if you're doing a revolve or anything based off of curves to have a good understanding of where your first and last CVs are located. You can also select cluster curve, and then NURB surfaces components are these ones as well. Control vertex, hole, isoperm, and surface point. And then these components are basically based off of NURBS as well. So under the modify menu, this is where we have our transform tools. So we have our move tool, rotate tool, scale tool, type manipulator, a universal manipulator. We can move along normals, and then there's a move, rotate, scale tool. You can show your manipulator or turn it off, and then the soft modification. Soft modification is really handy if you're modeling and you just want to make soft selections. So next we have reset transformations, and this is where you can reset your transformations back to 0. So reset, that translates, rotates, scale back to where you started from. Okay. And also freeze transform, so if you have moved anything outside of 0, 0 space, for instance, and you want that to now be 0, 0. So say you, let's just demo this, okay? So if I go and build a polygon primitive, and then I move it, and you can see I'm 8 centimeters in X and 4 centimeters in Y. And the reason why I say centimeters, because Maya's default is in centimeters and not meters. So just be aware of that. You can actually set that in the preferences if you want to work in meters. Default is centimeters though in Maya. So if I say freeze transforms, you'll see that everything, it freezes all that. So now I'm all zeroed out except for scale. Scale is at 1 because that's what scale is, 100 in Maya. And you'll see the inputs. There's still a polygon sphere input and then a transform. And that transform is when I did my freeze transform. And so that adds to that input. If I wanted to just clear that out, if I select that and go delete by type history, you'll see that the inputs are no longer available. So basically I'm just stuck with this sphere. I can't make any changes to the inputs. I would have to, if I was to make any changes like scale or anything like that, this is where I would go make those changes, and then I want to freeze those, and then that puts me all back at 0, 0, 0, and then 1 with scale. So if I wanted to, so you'll notice with reset transforms, this basically puts the center, the pivot, back at 0, 0, 0. So that's what, so now I'm basically back at 0, 0, 0 world space, but the object is not. So if I just go back, just undo, Control Z, and so now if I want to move that back to world, there's, so the C key is actually, so X is along the grid, this is snapping, so X, and C is along a curve, V is points. So if I go X and I middle mouse drag, it's going to snap directly to the grid. So now I'm back to 0, 0 space, and it's actually put a transform back on. So I want to actually make sure I freeze that. So now I'm back to 0, 0, 0. On everything is back to normal. So actually really nice to have that. And then also have a good understanding of what our reset and freeze transformations do. You can also match translates, rotates, and scaling, as well as pivots. You can actually center pivots. You can place a pivot where you want it and then bake that pivot down. You can also snap a line point to point, 2 points to 2 points, 3 points. Really good snapping tools. There's an align tool in here as well, and snap together tool. This evaluate nodes is, a lot of this is basically used if you want to turn off a system so it's not getting evaluated, like any of this, like end cloth. A lot of it's used for IK. If you want to make any changes or anything like that, you basically turn that off and then turn evaluate all back on, and then you'll see that those evaluations come back to life. This naming is, everything under naming is prefix hierarchy names. You can actually change that. And then also search and replace names is a good search and replace. Add attributes. The attributes are basically what we do over here. So if we wanted to add a new attribute to this cube or to this sphere, this is where we would add that attribute. So here's where we can name whatever. So say we name this spin, and then we can make it all these things. We can change these, so we can make it not keyable, displayable, hidden. Then we can also change the data types: vector, floats, integers, boolean. You can see this, and then this is where you set the minimum and maximum, and then the default. So default would be 0. So if I say add, you'll see that I now have this spin attribute on this. So if I wanted to, say, put a spin on this, I would probably connect the rotate Y channel, but basically we can just do this, which basically gives us a spin. But if we wanted to, we could just go to this spin, and inside Maya there's under Windows, and I believe it's under, yes, the general editor, there's a connection editor. And so you'll see in the left-hand side, so we have the P sphere, and then all the nodes, output nodes that are available. So if we scroll to the bottom, our spin is going to be here, and then we also want to reload this on the right. And so now we can see what we can connect to. And so let's say we want to connect that spin to our rotate, and then rotate Y. And so now you'll see that rotate Y has a yellow connection, and that's just basically it's connected to a certain object, or whatever that object is connected to. And you can see it actually made these names italicized, so you can actually see that they're kind of rotated to the right a little bit, and that's the connection that it's made. So now, if you go to that object and go to spin, you'll see that it's just basically doing that rotate Y connection. So you could also add the rotate X as well, and so you'll see that this spin is going to throw X and Y. Okay, if you want to get rid of it, you just select the one that you don't want, and so that basically just takes away that X. We would just need to put that back to 0, and then now we have that back to normal. If we want to get rid of that spin, you can actually just break the connection. It will actually keep the spin attribute still there, or we can just select that attribute and go to modify and delete attribute, and we just select spin and say delete, and then go OK, and then you'll see there's still a connection. Okay, so what we need to do is actually break that connection, and to do so we just right click on rotate Y and then go down to break connections, Actually, one thing that I want to do is actually undo this a couple times and go back to, oops, I want that connection back. So actually I'm going to go and just add that spin attribute and say OK. And so also go back to General Editor's Connection Editor and that spin, and then also I want the sphere to be reloaded over here and rotate, so spin and rotate Y. Okay, and then I'm just gonna, I think that's actually a bug inside Maya, but now the connection is no longer, we can actually go to that spin and say modify, delete attribute, and then delete the attribute. So it's better to unconnect it and then delete the attribute. Okay, and then, so moving forward, this is, so Make Live is actually, this is a great tool. This is used a lot for retopology. And so to be able to, for make live objects, you can actually just select an object that you want to make live. You can select this snap right here. It says make the selected object live, or you can actually go here to the modify and say make live. Whoops. So I want to modify make live. You just have to make sure that that object is selected before doing so, and so that's actually, so you can't basically do anything with that object currently. It's just a live object, which basically means if I create a new, say a cube, and I start moving that cube around, let's see, I want to open up my outliner, which this box right here on the left will show or hide the outliner so we can actually get to our cube. And so if I middle mouse drag around that, you'll see that that basically stays locked on to my sphere. So it's actually a really nice tool with Make Live. Basically place that anywhere on an object. It's pretty cool. So to get rid of that, you can turn that off, and so now it's no longer attached. It doesn't attach itself, but you can actually model on top of an object. Really kind of neat and cool item to have. And then there's also conversions, so you can actually NURBS to polygons or subdivs to polygons, NURBS as well, NURBS to polygons, polygons to subdiv. You can select polygon edges and make a curve out of it, which is really cool. Also, the paint tool. This is our paint scripts tool and our attributes tool. And then this is an asset system. I don't really use the asset system, so I don't know much about it. Under display, this is where we can either display the grid, you can turn it off if you don't want to see the grid. Then also you can actually change the options to however many units. I usually just leave my units alone and keep them how Maya's default. Let's see, under display, under heads up display, this is where we can see We can turn items on. We can know what our current frame is. You can also object details. This is also where you find the polygon count. And so if I turn off the polygon count, you'll see display heads-up display, and I turn my polygon count off. It's usually right here. So if I want to see that, I just display heads-up display and then poly count. And now I can see, I get back my vertex, edges, faces, tries. So triangles in the scene is 264. Really helpful to have that information. So that's where that is, heads-up display. This is where we can hide objects, and we can hide all kinds of different items. We can also show, this is where we show those items that we've hidden. This is a toggle for show and hide. And then per camera visibility, we can change wireframe color, object display, we can template it, transform displays, so we can actually turn on the display to a local rotation axis or rotate pivots. Any of our pivots we can actually see, we just need to turn them on. So say I select this guy and I say transform display local rotation axis. So now, yes, there's one other thing that you have to actually turn it on in the inside here. But I should be able to see. Yeah, you can see the local rotation axis is showing. So I can still see where that is. So if I turn X-ray off, you see that the object is basically solidified, and I can't see that anymore. So just make you aware of that. So under display, let's see, display, and we went to transform display and just turn off that local rotation axis. So now, no longer there. So turn X-ray back. So now we have a completely opaque object. So under this display as well, this is where you can change the display of all different types of polygon modes, face normals, vertex normals, standard, soft, hard edges, border edges, face centers. So this is where you would turn that stuff on. So say I want to see my face centers, you can just turn that on, and so now when I'm in this mode I can actually see my face center. And you can also, under preferences, you can set this to be select by face center if that's the way you like to work. I like to just be able to select the face that I'm actually working on. A little easier. And then you can also see triangles in triangle mode. So that's right here, face triangles, and the dotted line is just, so basically you can still see the quad. The dotted line is just showing us how that edge is actually facing. So if you want to actually change and tweak this edge to make it go the opposite way by flipping it, you can have access to that to actually see that. You can also do a cut, which I'll show how to do that as well. So under NURBS as well, you have some NURBS display options to see different things. And remember, option boxes have different options, so check those. Under animation, you can change joint size and IK display size as well. Handles, IK handle size, joint size, but sometimes if you see a joint that's just way too big, this is where this will change overall. So this does an overall of, like, say 0.25. But if you have multiple joints, you can actually change the radius of the joint, which actually kind of scales it down that way as well. I'll show that as well as we get to the joints themselves. And then also this is our frame selections and all that. These are all hotkeys that you use on a regular basis. So if you hit F, that will frame